those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trentovision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trentovision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or Tom at trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Kenny, what's going on, man? How are you? Good to see you through there and back there and all over the place. We got a change in the control tower here. All flights on time, landing nicely in the unaffected airports in South Florida by no snow. No snow. We did have a little rain this morning, though. Hi, Tom Trento. Trentovision.tv on the video side of this digital extravaganza. We come at your eyes with I'm going to do one other thing first. We come at your eyes on your new iPads and Kindles and whatever else you got. Tune into trentovision.tv. You can watch this thing carried around with you. iHeartRadio on the audio side, or the flagship WNN 1470 in Boca Raton, Florida, if you're driving in your automobile. You're listening to Tom and the Crew on the morning show here on
Well, it's afternoon, Tom.
Oh, the afternoon show here on Those guys crack me up. I've done a lot of radio interviews on very serious military intelligence, law enforcement, national security, and usually they're the kind of shows that deal with substantive issues. But once in a while, you get booked on, hey, you're with Bob on the morning show. It's Tom Trento on national security. You know, and then in the first 2 minutes, the guy's going, what is this all about? They just, they put your name on the thing. He goes, whoa, this is serious stuff. I said, yeah. But you keep going on your morning show because we'll save the world. Everything will be fine. We do national security radio. What does that mean? That means that we're at the tip of the intelligence, the information, and the global jihad spear. We know what's going on virtually any and everywhere in the world as it relates to Islamic terrorism because of a vast network of spies we have out there who help get us the information.
The spies who love us.
The spies who love us. And then we put it through this big, gigantic computer, and out comes this algorithm, and it comes out in the form of these bars. You think that we're just eating these bars. These are brain nutritional national security bars.
It comes out as Choco Nuts.
Choco Nuts. Yeah. And that gives us all the information, and then we spew forth and tell you.
Sugar frosted sugar bomb.
Then we tell you things like Uma Abedin, the assistant to Hillary Clinton, is a mobbed-up Muslim Brotherhood operative who has infiltrated the administration and the White House, and you go, what are you talking about? And then we lay out the evidence, and then you go, you people hate everybody because the evidence is too difficult to digest sometimes. But that's our job. We know how difficult this is, and we've all traveled a path of going, that's impossible to, oh my God, how could that happen? Well, this show lays out why we are in the mess we are in from a national security perspective. In particular, we have an array of people in the little country of Israel who report back hourly on what's going on there. And if there's any place on the face of the earth that is in tune with the jihad, what is jihad in that book, Mark? I think we did that one already, huh? Yeah.
Killing infidels. Killing anybody.
Yeah, killing holy war to kill infidels. Well, that's what we do. We do all this kind of stuff. But we make jihad fun in the sense that we wrap together the cultural issues of the day, the political issues of the country. We're going to do a little commercial first. Hang on. The political issues of the country, and do a lot of the hard intellectual academic work to synthesize this material and give you the nuggets of information you know. And we believe in 2013 that a cultural revolution is a necessity. This administration is unrestrained in many respects, particularly on national security issues. We have an anti-colonialist president who is historically and philosophically opposed to British colonialism, thus removing the statue of Churchill from the Oval Office. Yet, in his policies and practices on an everyday basis, he is colonizing, he is helping colonize the Middle East with the Muslim Brotherhood on the forefront of being the colonizers. With his efforts in Libya and Tunisia and now Egypt, you notice the president's been very quiet on Egypt lately.
I notice he's very quiet actually on everything because he's concentrating on his golf game while he's on vacation.
And the inauguration, which will have half the number of people that it did last time. So how do we bring this show to you? Well, we're on WNN 1470 on the radio, 3 hours a day drive time every weekday. And we're able to do this by selling some advertising. And you are more than welcome to participate as a partner with us, as a sponsor. If you're interested, as the bumper said before, you can contact Tom at TrentoVision.tv. Say, hey, I would like to, advertise whatever your thing is. We'll take a look at it. If it makes sense, doesn't violate any federal statutes, we'll give it a go. Or we are uniquely, because we're an educational operation here, and we are a nonprofit, we will accept your tax-deductible donations. You can go to TrentoVision.tv, make a donation, and if you would kindly consider us in your end-of-the-year giving, maybe some of those ridiculous presents you got, you'd like to bring them back, exchange them for cash, put the cash in the bank, write us a check. We'd be very happy to help you truly make Christmas a happy event for all of us here at Trento Vision. You can donate. We have a new sponsor that is with us. And if you've ever had, this is great. We go from, how to defeat the jihad to how to get your dishes clean in your dishwasher.
Well, life does go on, okay?
And our audience wants clean dishes, I'm
right.
sure.
And honey, when you're done, when you're done with the dirty work of fighting the jihadis, would you please bring some milk and eggs and bread home with you, and I will be in the kitchen getting the dishes clean and making supper.
Take your dishes. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, but CJ's right. The world...
because, life does go on, and we do have to, we have to take care of our daily activities,
And clean dishes are one of those. Now, this is
absolutely.
This is a little item that you add to the dishwasher. Now the dishwashers have those little. The dishwasher used to be me. One of my first jobs was a dishwasher at a restaurant. I will tell you those stories sometimes. They are not pretty stories. And I was in New Jersey at a big hotel on the water, and all the bums would be the dishwashers. And I was like 14 years old. And the trays of food are coming down the rack, and you have to separate them and everything. And I'd watch these guys that just were alcoholics, and it was sad. But as the food would come by, they'd grab a half-eaten steak, they'd take a bite off of the steak, throw the rest in the garbage. I'm going, oh, my God, what kind of career do I have here? But I did well. I excelled at dishwashing. I was promoted to the pot washer.
Oh, that's a promotion?
That's a promotion because they're nasty. The pots, they cook everything in.
The pots are the worst.
And you got to get special gloves and all of this. And then one of my jobs, it was in a lobster restaurant in New Jersey. And I walked in. I guess the statute of limitations has expired. I walked in. I got the job. I tried to get the job. And I'm getting on the line of, the dishwashing line. And I'm there about a half hour, and this guy next to me, his hands are they look like they went through a meat grinder. Yeah, they got fungus and all this stuff. And I go, what the hell is with your hand? He goes, this is what you get when you do wash dishes with certain types of fish. It's a fungus that comes on your hands. Oh. This is before rubber gloves, sort of, or people weren't wearing them. I looked at his hands. I was there about 2 hours, right? And I calculated my $2 an hour, and I saw in the kitchen a coconut cream pie, and I said, my amount of time here is equivalent to the cost of that pie. I said to the guys, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. I took the pie and I walked out and went home, and I did not want fungus hands.
Ooh.
But if you take a look at our new sponsor, you will not have fungus hands, but you'll have clean dishes.
Hold on, for some reason it's loading all.
I thought that was a pretty good little transition to
Yeah,
the
and that
board
was back in
operator.
the days when people actually
Have you noticed
worked,
when you
right?
take
Here
your
we go.
dishes out of the dishwasher, they aren't really clean? Can you see film on your glassware? You probably think it's your dishwasher, but it's not. It's your detergent. Really Clean is a dishwasher detergent booster, and it really works. Just add a Really Clean tablet along with your favorite detergent. Really Clean tablets are not sold in stores. Order them at reallycleandishes.com. That's reallycleandishes.com.
There you go. That was pretty simple.
Thanks, Really Clean Dishes.
Really Clean
Yeah.
Dishes. All right, reallycleandishes.com. Reallycleandishes.com. And if anybody's ever used this stuff,
How come
and you
I
can-
didn't get a sample of this?
we need samples.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need samples.
I have to
we
try
need
out the
samples.
new products.
Okay, I will have our staff contact the advertiser and give us some samples.
Yeah.
And you have to promise me one thing. Don't mix the Really Clean Dishes
With
with
organic
Organigol.
gold coffee.
Now, I think putting Organigol in the dishes will be okay. I think it'll probably clean the dishes pretty well. But putting Really Clean Dishes in your coffee may not work too well.
No.
In any event, Tom Trento with CJ, Mike, Mark here at 17 minutes past the hour. And one of the segments we bring you is the irony of the direction the world is going in many respects, certainly the United Nations, and the efforts in the United States to stop the Islamization of America. Well, how could that happen? Go to France, go to England, go to the Netherlands, go to Germany, go to Italy. Look at the Islamic problem there. And I was thinking the other day, there's 75% of Americans are Christians, right? If you
Is that all?
Yeah, 75% are professed Christians of some sort.
Okay.
75% of 330 million people, it's a lot of people, right? If you take that percentage figure and you apply it to an Islamic country, and you say this country, 75% of the people are Muslims, compare the life in that country where it's controlled, where there are 75% of the population are Muslims interested in Sharia, all of this, compared to the United States where Christianity is dominant. Where, just common sense, where would anybody want to live, you know?
Exactly. Well, especially when you look at countries where it's 100% Muslim, like Saudi Arabia, or over 98% like it is in Egypt, or in these other countries. I mean, it is complete. And when they say Sharia, they're not talking about some airy-fairy, mystical thing. They're talking about codified
Real
law
life
that
stuff.
we've been reading out of the books. And,
Well, let's take a look at my Sharia, because this is a very, very important one. All of these are important, but here we go. This is you watch this thing.
Yeah.
It's really cut well.
Yeah.
My Sharia, never gonna stop or give it up.
There is no
Killing
Muslim
infidels,
Brotherhood.
Always got it planned. Underhand,
Good camera work on that one.
I yell, my Sharia. My Sharia.
That's Mohammed Morsi screaming, the president of Egypt, and he won, man. May 13th, he's screaming Sharia, Sharia, Sharia. On December 22nd, he got his wish, and Egypt is now a Sharia-compliant country. And Mark, what does that mean to us in America?
Well, from the Umdat al-Salik, American Sharia law for Americans, certified and codified by all major U.S. Islamic groups. We're going to we talked about the last segment of unlawful knowledge, which includes philosophy, magic, including meaning sleight of hand, astrology, and anything that is a means to create doubt. Now, offensive knowledge includes such things as post-classical poetry, which contains romance and uselessness. That's pretty much everything.
Okay, I know a lot of people will agree with the poetry part.
I would be dead like threefold.
Yeah.
Post-classical romantic.
Yeah.
Romanticism.
Yeah,
Romanticism, yeah. Just
Poetry.
rule out the whole 19th century of
poetry.
everything,
All
and
poetry,
you'll be
in
Sharia
essence.
compliant. So what are the penalties for this?
Death.
For offensive?
Well, for example, philosophy, which is described as anything that deals with God, life, or after death, and so forth. And this is how they're saying it. Without the divinely revealed guidance of the Quran and Sunnah, any opinion that contradicts a well-known tenet of Islamic belief is kufar.
Kufar.
Yeah, it means
Forbidden.
forbidden knowledge, and the penalty for unbelievers is death. So,
Philosophy is outlawed in Sharia Islam. Do you know the word philosophia means? Philosophy?
Love of knowledge.
Yeah, phileo is a Greek term. Philadelphia. Philadelphia.
the brotherly love.
Yeah. Adelphus is brothers. Phileo is love. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love.
Right.
Phileo Sophia. Sophia means
Knowledge.
wisdom. Greek term for Sophia is wisdom. Phileo, love of wisdom. Philosophy is the love of wisdom. If you read the Hebrew Bible, you read the New Testament, there is a mandate to seek wisdom, to seek understanding, to ask, to challenge. Christianity and Judaism stand at the forefront of applying a critical apparatus to determine if a statement is true. Somebody says something, how do you know if it's true? Well, Judaism and Christianity teach you challenge it, you debate
Reason
it,
with it,
you analyze it, you work hard to test whether it's true. You just said, Mark, in Sharia Islam, you can't do that unless what? There was an exception.
Was divine? What is it said by Allah? Well, actually, we said this the other day, which actually was even.
You're not allowed to think.
Yeah, you're not allowed to think, and I had that one right here. And when you're talking about reason,
Yeah.
because it says, and the bad is not what the lawgiver has indicated is bad by asking it not to be done. The good is not what reason considers good, nor the bad what reason considers bad. The measure of good and bad, according to the school of thought, is what the law is, not reason.
A couple of years ago, I was asked to debate two imams, actually one imam and one scholar, Islamic scholar at University of South Florida. And I said, sure, yeah, absolutely. So I went over there, and the audience was about 100 people, all hijabs, all Muslims, a couple of white people. And ironically, in that audience that day was Dave Galbutz's son, Chris Galbutz, still undercover.
Right.
And I was aware of what was going on. I saw him there, and it was just interesting that he popped up there. But you got to figure out how do you make sense to this crowd?
Right.
I'm Satan already. So what do you do? So I did something I thought was pretty cool, actually. I got up, I opened, and I said, I'd like to just congratulate everyone in this room for the amazing work you have put in at a very difficult university, University of South Florida. Many of you are about to get your sheepskin, your BAs, and most of them were doing work in the sciences.
And they come on paper from
Yes.
USF, by the way.
Oh, they come up.
Yeah.
I use the metaphorical
Yeah.
sheepskin,
I'm just telling you.
and
It's forbidden in Islamic
No
law, by
sheep
the
were
way.
harmed in
No
the
sheep were
printing
harmed
of
in the
this
making.
diploma.
so I said, I got to congratulate those of you who are in your senior year. I said, you 4 difficult years, and many of them were in graduate school. I said, some of you are now working on your master's, your PhD. I said, let me congratulate you. You know, I hold 3 earned degrees. I know the amount of work, the blood, sweat, and tears, and you deny yourself all these years of this, and you study and you study, and I said, you did a phenomenal job. I said, and particularly in the hard sciences, a lot of them are engineering, computer sciences. I said, you have developed and they're all like sitting up. They're expecting me to be there yelling about
Right.
Muslims and Muhammad's a pedophile and all this stuff, right? And I'm congratulating them. And I segue to the fact that they have developed this unique critical apparatus that allows them to take statistical information, to take propositions, to take hypotheses, and to struggle in such a way and analyze them to determine which is true, which isn't, and to apply them to their field of expertise and to do it successfully to the point where they are granted a graduate degree. I said, that is phenomenal. I said, now here it comes.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it.
I said, all I ask tonight, and I said it like that, everybody got quiet, is that you take this skill that you have perfected, this analytical skill to test claims, the skill you know you have, the skill you've used successfully, and you apply it to Islam. I said, I'm going to present information to you about Islam that fails factually, fails scientifically, whatever. And I want you not to have a knee-jerk emotional or psychological reaction. I want you to hold back that emotional response, apply your intellectual critical apparatus, test whether or not what I'm saying is true, even if it causes you to reconsider your faith. Unbelievable what happened.
What?
They started yelling at me.
I was going to say, did they start screaming and get up and leave the room or
This
throw
is
things
ridiculous.
at you?
And by the end of the evening, they were lining up, and they were yelling everything. I have this on tape. They were yelling everything they could at me. It was so offensive to them because of what you just read.
Well, you're not supposed to think in Islam, and so being taught all this critical analysis, and then after you're done at the end of your 4 years, throw it all away because it's useless. And that's the reason 90%, I'm telling you, is their degrees are in Islamic studies overseas. That's the reason they all want to come to America, because they can't get any of that.
Can't think.
They can't get that education.
But
over
these
there, so they can
Westerners, the ones that are here, are limited in the ability they have. They're limited in terms of the fact that it's very tribal being in Islam, even in America. And they're limited by the fear of going to perdition, going to hell, by questioning the de facto statements of Allah, which says in there, if you even question this, you are doomed to perdition.
Well, you're going to be killed physically, too.
And besides the fact that will kill you. What a horrible place to get locked into, where Jews and Christians, you make a statement, nah, that's wrong. Hey, here's why. Here's 50 reasons. Let's argue. Let's debate it. Most of my Muslim friends out there, and we have many Muslim friends, many of whom have left Islam because they applied this critical apparatus to question the truth claims of Islam. You don't have to become a Christian. You have to be anything. But whether or not what you're following is true, you need to evaluate.
Well, let's apply some of our critical thinking to follow through on what we started talking about
we're
in
ready
the
for that.
last hour, and also why this economy that we're talking about and why our history that we're talking about are so critical.
She's getting us back on track.
To fighting what you're reading in that book.
Yes,
and if you are a liberal, you should be completely abhorred by these type of statements and understand our history in a more complete context of what
If you're
it
a
was.
liberal who is thinking clearly, analytically, logically, yes, agreed.
Yes.
Tom Trento at 29 minutes past 4 o'clock on the Trento Vision Show with Mark, CJ, Mike. We got Kenny in the booth, 888-565-1470 on a sleepy December 26th, Wednesday. Anybody know roughly when the Revolutionary War started? What was the beginning? I don't expect Canucks to know this, but any Americans in here? Americans in here know when it started?
Americans.
What the
Revolutionary War. What was
the declared part, or actually when it kind of started with
the official start of the Revolutionary
Are we
War?
going into the Wayback Machine for this?
Wayback Machine.
Well, we have to go away.
I don't have the audio. I have the site for it.
Okay.
Got it?
No, he just has a site for it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we go back to the Wayback Machine. It started right.
Oh, there
in
it is.
Battle of New York was actually the first real battle, official battle after the Declaration of Independence.
Well, what was the shot heard around the world? What was that all about?
Concord, right?
Yeah, Lexington and Concord, and the official start date. This is interesting. Is April 19th, 1975. That's more than a year.
1775?
Yeah, 1775.
Well, that's the reason I qualified.
Okay, you were
it
just
after the
doing that to
Declaration.
see if we were paying attention, right?
Well, it was the Revolutionary War started before the Declaration.
Yes.
A year before, and obviously the colonies were it didn't just say okay, we're done with Britain, then the next day is war. There's just like everything else. There's meetings and this and nobody wanted war. No one in the colonies wanted war.
War is messy and costly and disrupts your food supply, and there's no time to get your dishes clean during a war.
So the colonists, who were not organized for war either, they didn't want war, but the burden of the British rule on the colonies, give us everything you have, plus your taxes, and you work for us, was just, it got to a breaking point. Right. And so on April 19th, 1775, at the Battle of Lexington and Concord in good old Massachusetts, Middlesex County in Massachusetts, the first shot was fired. Ralph Waldo Emerson in his Concord hymn memorialized that by the shot heard round the world, which it was. Year later, a little over a year later, there was a whole year from April 75 to 4th of July 76. There was a whole year of negotiating.
Right.
You know, didn't work out.
Well, 1/3 didn't want to have it happen. 1/3 desperately wanted to have. 1/3 didn't care, and so.
And if
This
you
sounds
guys,
a lot like the current electorate
I know,
here.
things have not changed.
Yeah.
And if you at home are interested in these sort of facts about American history, and you should be, instead of watching, American Idol 46 or whatever, go on the Discovery Channel and all of those. They have some great shows on this stuff that are pretty realistic.
All fascinating.
I think I saw one on Alexander Hamilton. Was it Hamilton? One of those guys. I forget which one. You just keep seeing them. But a bunch of them. In any event, 1776 comes along. There's a Declaration of Independence. And then now it's formal. We're against you in a more formal way. We have a declaration. The Declaration talks about King George, all of that. Mark, what happened from 4th of July 1776 to Christmas 1776? Those 6 months or so.
Well, you talk about the shot heard around the world. That's obviously the official start of the Revolutionary War, but the actual official battle, the first when they actually had military, blue coats against red coats. Well, we didn't really have blue coats back then because we just kind of didn't have time to make uniforms and boots or anything like that. Everybody just said, hey, we're the Continental Army. Was back during the Battle of New York and in that time frame. And that's when one day we're all out there with our muskets. Oh, yeah, let's go after the British, after the British, after the British. And all of a sudden, there's 130 British ships off our coast. And we're like, uh-oh, oops, sorry. And we don't have any Navy or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we just got devastated. I mean, they came on there and just kicked our butts. 90% of the army was wiped away in that first battle. 90%.
In those early battles.
In that first, and after that first battle, Washington basically said, "Hey guys, it's over. It's over before it started." And he actually had a quote.
So they got the colonists, the American military, basically made up of some regular. men.
Was our entire army.
And the muskets took about 18 minutes to load. Flint, the gunpowder, this, Clint.
So
boom, and they went sideways.
Picture this: we got 2,400 men to take on the British Empire with 130 ships.
That was crazy.
And it's just insane.
And the British wanted America. Obviously, they saw the future of the resources and all of that. So this wasn't like some little country. They really wanted this thing. Let's see if Judah has. Hang on one second. Let's see. Quote. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the Commander-in-Chief George Washington said when he expressed some doubts, writing to his cousin in Virginia, he quoted and he said, "I think the game is pretty near up." He'd already resigned.
Washington did.
Yeah.
This is in right after the signing of the Declaration.
Right after the Battle of New York, right?
Okay, right after there.
Wow.
Who do we have on the line?
We have First Verlanda.
Okay.
No.
No? We have Judah.
Okay.
Judah, you're with everybody here. How are you today?
Thank God, feeling well. I thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
Good.
Really feeling great. Good afternoon to all of you. You had last week a fellow who was an outstanding guest, very informative, very knowledgeable, terrific guy, courageous fellow by the name of IQ. And he brought out the point that that part of Sharia and Islamic culture is this idea that you can deceive and lie in order to wage jihad against the infidel. And to the best of my recollection, there was an Arab historian, an Arab sociologist by the name of Sonia Hamadi, who also said that Arabic culture is famous for lies and deception. What's it called? Katia and Kitman, something like that.
Takia.
So vis-a-vis to what Mark just said a little while ago, that Islam discourages reason and thinking, critical thinking. So, and here's the question. How is it that we're supposed to believe that there was a huge renaissance of science and mathematics that occurred during the great age of Islam from the 6th century to the 12th century? If Sharia discourages reasoning and critical analysis, how was it that they invented the math system that we use today, the number system, and other things?
Great, that's a great question.
It doesn't discourage, prohibits.
Here's what happened, Judah.
Wait, hang on one second. CJ's point
doesn't discourage, prohibits.
It prohibits it,
That's quite a difference.
Which emphasizes Judah's point of the inconsistency between the Sharia and the fact that all this good stuff happened. Mark, your thoughts?
Exactly, that's my point.
Well, the point being is everything that they claim to be a scientific advancement under Islam was captured or seized when they took over a territory, and then they just now the country is Islamic. Now they have it. So they didn't discover it themselves. They went and captured and said, "Here you go."
So it's basically war booty.
It's war booty. Yeah.
It's most of it is war booty. But in order to compete with the West, compete with Judaism, compete with Christianity, they just say things like, "Okay, we invented this, we did this," and the non-thinking world says, "Oh, okay, there's so many of them, they must have done that." But it is inconsistent with the system of Islam to create. Well, I've said this many times on the show. You can go to the 2004 United Nations manual. They produced a book on the inability of the Arab world to be productive in the economy, in academics, in arts, in anything. 2004. I have the book at home.
Because everything is prohibited.
Yep. No, good point, Judah. Definitely.
Thank you, Judah.
And look how few Nobel Prizes for science, mathematics, literature Arabs have won. Muslims have won. There's just a paucity of it.
Yeah, there's like 1 or 2 Nobel Prizes out of 1.3 billion people. And these pesky little Jews with about 2 people on the face of the earth have like 138 Nobel Prize awards in the same time period.
This also, I think, I've been searching for the fundamental difference between leftists and Islamists, and here's what it is: the Islamists prohibit logic and reason and thinking, and the leftists strongly discourage it. So there's the distinction.
Ah,
in case you were
interesting.
looking for it.
Their Venn
That's what they
diagram
have in
overlaps.
common. Yeah.
Okay, we
Yeah.
got it.
Interesting. You know?
Hey, thanks a lot,
All
Judah.
right, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Also,
Anybody
the,
else
yeah,
on
also,
the line?
No, we're good.
Okay, good.
Also, the basic core tenet of Islamic principle is against anything. It's anti-modernity. Anything to do with any type of thing modern, art, literature, science.
It's anti-spirit.
It's anti-thought, and with that anti-thought means you can't think in new directions. You can't. Name me the last Islamic play that you've seen worldwide at the Cannes Film Festival. It just doesn't occur because they don't have them. Music, there's anti-music, anti-social. It's
Anti-giggling.
yeah. You can't even have
Well,
laughter.
let me qualify one little issue. Much in order to be accurate, much of what we're talking about in terms of the prohibitions on analytical thinking and all of this relates to questioning the Quran or the Sunnah or the Hadith unless there is authoritative allowances. But certainly Muslim people who get multiple engineering degrees are very intelligent, and Mohammed Morsi is one of them, a very intelligent guy.
Right.
So was Muhammad Hatta.
Yeah, and they're applying they won't apply their critical analysis toward their belief system, but they'll apply it and figuring out how to extend Islam
Right.
in some either deceptive or analytical manner. Just like I told those kids, I said, you have this skill
Right.
and you apply it every day. Apply
Yeah.
it to your own belief
Yeah.
system. They will not
But
do
if
that.
you're not allowed to think critically about your own faith, therefore you cannot be responsible for anything that you do. And that's where the responsibility
Yep.
that you're always talking about
Yep.
comes in. You can't be responsible for anything because you're not really allowed to think about anything to begin with. Therefore,
All right, now let me-
anything you do is outside of your own personal control.
It's a complete lack of
But
responsibility.
let's get back to the
Well,
Battle
I'm
of
going to weave
You
these
wanna
together.
weave it together?
I can weave them
Please
together.
weave it
Yes.
together.
We have, and this is the beauty of this show, unlike any other show.
We have lots of time to get there.
Well, that's one good thing. We have Islamic stuff and George Washington. How shall the twain meet? It's very easy.
Yeah.
We right now have an attack against the principles of the Constitution
Yeah.
that these guys drew up. And the attackers are the left, which would be the Tories. And
Well, no, the Tories are not the left.
yeah, they were the royalists.
were
they were the bad guys.
They were the
Tories
yeah,
were the
they
bad
were the
guys.
rightists back then.
They were the British. The
Yeah.
Tories were the ones who were in accord with the British, with the government, and then we have the Sharia compliant Muslims. I don't know where they fit in historically, but now, in terms of the goofy analogy, but now this unholy alliance of Sharia Islamic compliant people in the world, in the UN, in America, joining with the left to attack the documents that 236 years ago, today, a small band of men defended so that we can enjoy these freedoms. Our thesis here on Trento Vision is this document is under attack by this administration, and we need to understand historically what happened and to gain and to capture the spirit of what
Yeah.
took place in Delaware.
Yeah.
Crossing the Delaware in Trento, New Jersey. Trenton, New Jersey.
Because these
236
documents
years
are
ago.
absolutely critical to stopping the spread of Sharia.
Amen.
If you don't have these documents, if you don't live this way, if you don't believe this way, if you don't fight this way, then there's nothing to stop the spread of Sharia.
Of an irresistible force.
That's right.
If you don't have an immovable object, the irresistible
That's
force
right.
of Sharia will
That's
win.
right.
Absolutely.
This is what stands between us and them. And that's why the left is attacking the Constitution. That's why we have a Justice Department that doesn't defend the Constitution. That's why we
And
have an administration that
we have an
that's-
administration and a Justice Department attacking states who are
States.
trying to defend
That's
the
right.
Constitution.
And siding with the evil dictatorships of the UN
Right.
against the
So-
All right, here's what we're-
Constitution of the
Tom,
United
take us back to
States.
1776.
Here's where we
Yeah.
are. In April 19th, 1775, boom!
Kaboom.
The shot heard round the world. A year later, the Declaration is signed. a series of battles after that. The British forced the American militia and regulars to escape, and it's not that far from Manhattan, down through central Jersey, over to Philadelphia. It's about 80 miles or so. So they find themselves on Christmas Day, and you gave the weather report.
Yeah.
On Christmas Day,
The little
1776.
ice age.
An ice age, basically.
They found themselves, they being George Washington's troops, as they were. Mark's going to describe the troops in a second.
Look how
On
small the
Christmas
United States
Day
was.
and December 26th. Today, folks, this is why we're doing the show today. 236 years ago, not too far from here, about 1,100 miles from here, in Trenton, New Jersey. I grew up there, and I can't tell you how many times in school teachers wrote my name Trenton, Trenton. I said, excuse me, I'm Italian, there's no N at the end of my name. Take the N off. That's the capital of New Jersey, okay?
All our names end in vowels.
Yeah, it's a vowel. I'm not Trenton. I fought that battle all my life, being from New Jersey, being Trenton. So it's Christmas Day, 1776, just a little bit after the signing. And George Washington marshals his troops. Mark, what did they look like?
There were basically no coats, no heavy overcoats, no sufficient clothing of what to wear in like a winter battle. Nothing like that. Basically what they could carry on their backs. The vast majority of them had actually no shoes. There was actually no shoes to walk in. Now, we're talking a mini ice age. We're not talking about, South Florida, 78 degrees. It's an
Right.
ice age where frostbite on their fingers and toes and extremities, and they wrapped their feet actually in cloth so they could actually walk, in the snow without actually losing their feet. And many of them
They
just died of
exposure.
right?
Yeah.
And even on the march,
Yeah.
2 of them died going
Yeah.
over there.
There were 2,400 on the American side. And the way they got these 2,400 of the 13 colonies, they would ask for, and you didn't pick up your cell phone and make a phone call. You sent men on horseback to go to the various places. They had to go to towns and say, look, we need men of fighting age, and we need you with us. And at that point, each state had a militia. They had farmers and bankers and auto repairmen and airplane pilots and oh wait, they didn't have those guys, but they had all the workers who said, yeah, we're there if you need us. Well, we need you now. So the militia guys came, but also they had a very small organized military, they being the United States military, George Washington's troops, called the regulars. And they were a little better trained, but you had to support them because 2,400 men, they're all not just fighters. Somebody's got to cook the food for 2,400 guys. Somebody's got to get the ammunition ready. Usually it's 60% to 30%, 60% of the people supporting the 30% fighting. So a lot of the militia people did a lot of the support work, but it was Christmas Day.
And they hadn't been paid yet either. They hadn't been paid for a long time.
Haven't been paid for a long time.
And they're revolting, and they actually were going to revolt.
The morale was very, very low. They've experienced nothing but defeat. Now, we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen, today to speak to all of you who are in the doldrums about losing a friggin' election to Obama, okay? There's a little qualitative difference here between losing an election, which we all know is the most important one in our life, and being in the freezing ice. You're 19 years old, you're 20 years old, you got a gun, you don't even really know how to use it. You've got a British army that hired German soldiers. Remember the name of those guys?
Hessians.
The Hessians. They flew in the Hessians, superior
Experienced
fighting
word.
forces. Yeah, these are
Well-armed, shoes and everything.
with their red coats, all of this stuff. Picture you're not sitting in the comfort of your home and you see the results come back on November 6th and you go, oh my God, and you go into a panic attack or some sort of state of depression that many of you are still in. We need to fight an extremely important battle in 2013. If you can just sense the spirit of what took place on December 25th, 1 year ago, 236 years ago, today, 1 day ago, and on the 25th and the 26th, it was a 2-day campaign. If you can sense and experience vicariously what took place, and we're going to describe it step by step, and then apply that to where you are today for the need that exists for the same sort of battle, then we will be extremely successful in what we're trying to do here today, to mobilize an intellectual and cultural militia to fight these intellectual and cultural battles.
That's why the Second Amendment is so critical.
Oh,
That's
yes,
why
it
we've
is.
talked about it all week.
Yep. So, all right, now, here we go. It's December 25th. George Washington goes and looks at his boys and goes, oh, what am I doing here, you know? And he has to rally them up. And in the next hour, we're going to read from a document that was used to rally the troops. It's Thomas Paine's The American Crisis, written for today, 236 years ago. Thomas Paine wrote a particular little treatise, short little piece. We'll go through most of it because it's so relevant. And George Washington, it was written specifically for this situation. And George Washington read it, and it provided to these troops, these young soldiers who were farmers and cooks and just family men, who saw the defeat over the past 6 months, and then the army they had to attack in the ice and snow. This document that we'll take a look at in the next hour, The American Crisis, mobilized the troops to advance and cross the Delaware. But before we get to that, let's get a quick...
let's get a quick hello and question from Verlanda.
Hi, CJ.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine.
Merry after Christmas.
Yeah, mine was good. I'll be celebrating a birthday next month. So.
Awesome.
That's another whole story. Listen, I just wanted to say to Mark, thanks a lot for reading that passage, because now, when I think back during my college days at FAU, most of the kids who were from either Pakistan or who were from the Middle East that I knew of, Saudi Arabia and those who were Muslims, I now understand why it is almost imperative that you go into the sciences, because just by you reading that passage, you would never be an English major, you would never be a poli-sci major, you would never be a liberal arts major, because that text alone discourages you or admonishes you basically not to. So I never understood that, but you made it very clear as to why that's the case.
Well, here's the point, Verlanda, is that when they say that Islamic Sharia is like, well, it's not just about cutting off apostates' heads, and it's not about just jihad. I mean, that's only 1% of it. Even though that's 1% of a poison water, but that's okay. We'll just put that aside. They said 99% of it is about thought and how you should think and how you should act and what you should do. They're actually correct when they say that. And the stuff that we're pointing out here is all that other stuff where you're not allowed to laugh, you're not allowed to study philosophy, you're not allowed to do magic, and it's a holy rule book of what you cannot do. And there's a whole bunch of, that's 99% of it.
And no free inquiry. You're right, Yolanda.
It goes beyond just facts, because then they have religious police to back it up with beatings
good
and
point.
killing.
Yeah, it goes beyond just, of course. Well, if you apply these rigorous rules, you need the Iranian or the Saudi police whipping everybody.
Yeah.
You need them. Excellent point, Yolanda, that the humanities, where there's free inquiry and open thought, is contradictory to the rigors of Islamic Sharia. Thank you very, very much. We got to get out of here right now. And we're going to be back in our next hour. We're going to go through the actual attack, the battle that took place 236 years ago today in Trenton, New Jersey, that area. And then we're going to tell you a little bit about Thomas Paine's The American Crisis. And folks, get ready for the revolution in 2013.
Start the revolution.